call for rights all the time, yelling, you gotta stop coercing and forcing people into treatment, but not come up with alternatives. As a woman came here, and of course I have to keep anonymity, but she came and said, I'm fearful that I'm going to get locked up. So we met with her peer advocates, and she says, I know you have the respite program. I need to get there. So we don't do intakes, we do dialogues. Tell us what's going on, what can we do to help? Do you think respite is actually what you need as support? Tell us why, and what would this be like? What would it divert you from having to deal with? And she shared, and through the advocacy and the respite piece, we were able, over a 4-day period, she went into respite. Through the advocacy piece, we were able to find out she had what's called a mental hygiene pickup order here in New York State. We call them mental hygiene arrest warrants. And she was able to divert that because an advocate worked with her. This person is now, after 4 days, was able to get a 30-day stay at an apartment building through another community resource, and now is actively finding a place in the community to live. My biggest influences from being institutionalized personally, one thing I'm very sensitive to is how we ask people to contribute versus having to have a chore list using the support, because the days of slave labor in institutions and you gotta pick up cigarette butts and do laundry and scrub the floors. So anything institutional based, we've tried to X out of here as much as possible. We do have a lot of people who also come to the respite house who have been coming off psychotropic medications / drugs, who are as well maybe a change. So they're afraid, we hear this a lot, they're afraid in the change or coming off that they want some kind of support and not have to depend on the hospitals. And we try to say, listen, when you come in, set a plan up. So you don't have to, we don't want this to be a reoccurring visit. We want you to connect, move on to where you need to move on to, but we find people, we don't want to use it as a crutch. We really want them to come in, use the support the best they can, and really connect to the other resources we have and the other resources you want.
The Peer Support and Wellness Center offers 3 respite beds for peers who are in need of extra support but do not want to go to the hospital. A respite bed can be used for up to 7 days by any participant who has a proactive interview on file. A proactive interview is done when a peer is doing well, and it serves to build a relationship with peer staff before a respite stay is needed. Respite guests carry on with their daily routines like work, school, socializing, or other community activities while in respite. The center has an open-door, self-directed policy without curfews or coercion of any kind. Respite guests can expect dignity, respect, and peer support 24 hours a day.
Come here, have people to talk to that really care and concerned. It's really helped me a great deal. It's helped me to stay out of the hospital through having someone to call if you need to talk, having people to talk to that been through what I've been through, not people to judge or describe medication, but actually just listen to you.
Each time I would come through the doors, I could feel a sense of spiritual healing. It was just like coming home.
You're not going through anything alone, and there's always someone here.
Welcome to the Rose House.
A lot of our philosophy is when you're having emotional distress or in some kind of crisis, we want people to remember that they're human beings and that they have other interests, and so we have a lot of professional instruments you'll see here. We do have professional art equipment, exercise, video games. Who doesn't love video games? And computer access, and so it helps people kind of, distract themselves from the crisis and from whatever they're dealing with, and focus on just, enjoying themselves a little bit, doing something creative. It started mostly because of my own personal experience of being hospitalized in a psychiatric ward, and the lack of quality and the lack of compassion and empathy that existed in the hospital, where, from the emergency room to being on the unit, you're pretty much dehumanized, and you're treated as if there's something seriously wrong with you. That's how I found my recovery, is I learned more about self-help and peer support, and then was employed by a hospital as a screener in an emergency room, and that gave me the experience from the other side in my recovery to understand how people should be treated. I was fortunate enough to then research it and find Sherry Mead, who was running Stepping Stones in New Hampshire at the time, and learned from her what they were doing, and took kind of, the concept of the model and just tweaked it a little bit here in this region to make it what it is today, which is a house where you can come, you can be in crisis, you can stay 1 to 5 days for free, and you're going to get 24-hour peer support if you need it, and you're going to be able to talk about the issues that you're dealing with, and how to look at crisis differently and how to move forward, and not having to utilize hospitalization and go through the trauma of hospitalization or emergency rooms going forward. So it's a place that's comfortable, it's a place that people can come to and really relax. It's a respite, it's diversion, it's a learning opportunity. And so here we are, 11 years into our 11th year, and still going.
Yeah, so it's been open about a year and a half, and been phenomenal. All our programs are all consumer run. We're a consumer run organization. We're the only consumer run organization in the state, and the only one that draws state funding for programs like this. And we probably follow 90% or so of Rose House. We took Steve's original policies and the data tools, the different documents that you use in doing it, and then modified it to fit Nebraska. We formed an advisory committee that was primarily consumers, but we had other providers and emergency services people, and so we were able to also develop a very strong relationship with the Lincoln Police Department, who by and large turned out to be our biggest supporter and our biggest advocate, which then helped sell it to the neighborhood and everything else.
That must benefit the people who stay there too, to have the support of a neighborhood and to be involved in the community.
Very much so. Is that the individual is the driver. Nothing happens without the guest wanting it to happen. They are in absolute control. You come here, you're coming here to work on something. We're not here to solve anything for you. We're here to help you find your solutions, but it's your deal. They're your problems, your issues, so you have to find your solutions, and we're here to help. And compared to the hospital, whereas somebody were to walk in, go to the emergency room, and then be admitted into their psych ward, we're about 1/6 the cost of the hospital. One of the unintended benefits that we found from the house, and it started to become apparent almost immediately, is that a guest would be at the house and they would be so enthused about the power of it, and so enthused about their own ability and the process and how it works, and that they then wanted to start volunteering. To date, we're running a little better than 70%, which means 3 out of 4 people that come to the house that have used services in the past don't go back to services after the house. Sparkle, who is at the house, I think literally her story when she tells it is, a month or two before coming to the house, she was in the state hospital. Hasn't been back now since. But I think having, knowledge, specific knowledge that can only be given from a lived experience, gives you that level of more empathy, more been there, done that type thing. That allows the model to work